All right, so tonight we saw the first game with the boys World Cup U17 qualifiers where we played Barbados. And just for those who don't know, we lost that game 1-0. Scared football is not quality football. Scared football is when a team is lacking confidence and they allow the opposition to do what they want. This has a lot to unpack, so I think I'll probably start from before. So we had a screening session, and I want to use that in quotes because everybody who was there, parents I speak to of players who came from abroad, they have been mentioning to me that this was a somewhat biased screening session because the coach already knew who he wanted. Then you could remember that there was a conversation where a Mr. Dinoon, who's the striking coach for the U17 team, said that the foreign-based players not as good as some of the local-based players. So since then, we knew that there was some possible selections that would take place, which kind of did happen. We had an almost full local-based team, excluding a lot of foreign-based players from academies. Okay, no problem. That is what we decided. That is what we had to live with. I've spoken to parents of players who are outside, and the way the players were cut, they weren't given any kind of feedback. They were just told that they're not good enough for the team. So that is one challenge. Then the team went and played 2 games against Peru. I guess the thinking is that if we get a team that kind of plays in a similar style to Mexico to kind of see where we are. We got 12 in 2 games. We didn't really have too much positives coming from that, and we didn't really create any style of football. Now, these players were in camp a little bit before that, so you would have expected that some things would have been worked on and that they would go to execute against Peru. We didn't see that. We were like, okay, no problem. They got a lesson and they were able to learn from that. Unfortunately, that was just like 5 days before this tournament actually started. So how much work and how much time they had to make changes would have been left up to anybody to really know. Then there was the interview with Mr. Randall Boyce. That was painful to watch, if I be quite honest. If ever there was an interview that I wish I could get back my time for, that would be the interview. Because that was literally a lot of nothing was said. I'm not the kind of person to curse, so it was a lot of nothing that was said. There was one point that I took away from and I was like, okay. You have a captain, but then you said that you have a captain for different parts of the field, which sounds nice. But guess what? The goal that Barbados scored to win 1-0 against us came from a corner when all our players were back. So which captain are you listening to? The attacking captain, the midfield captain, the defensive captain, or the goalkeeper? So there's 4 voices me as a young player have to listen to now. And if you look back at the goal came from the back post, came into the middle where 2 Bayesian players were, no Trinidad and Tobago player was around, and he was able to head the ball into the net. 7 corners at that time, and at that point we had no corners taken in our game. So, all right, I guess I'm talking about the game now. Stepped into the game, we decided again that we were going to play a low block against Barbados. We were going to play counter football, and our outlet is Adasa Richardson. Here's the interesting part about Trinidad and Tobago football. For the senior national team, Levi Garcia, who is a winger, we like to put him on top and hope for the best. He is big, he is strong, we get some limited success. Adasa Richardson, who happens to be Levi's nephew, is also a winger. And just like the senior team, we decide that we are going to take this winger and try to play him on top. He is not as developed as Levi as yet. Again, limited success. In this game, he really was out of it. In the 75th minute, as I mentioned, they scored on us. This game was so slow, it was at walking pace sometimes. I'm sure Mexico is licking their chops because we have to play them on the 12th. We have two other games, St. Martin and St. Martin. Who knows how those results would go. But honestly, with this loss tonight, I think we are almost already out of this tournament. Just being realistic. So yeah, I think Mexico is licking their chops knowing that once we block out Adasa Richardson, Trinidad and Tobago has no creativity. Trinidad and Tobago has no tactic, no technical ability because and again, I'm saying all of this, and this has nothing to do with the guys who were playing. This has nothing to do with the players. Those players are okay. Again, I'm very upset by the fact that we had an opportunity to bring in some better players to beef up the team, and we chose not to, which is a coach's issue again. We also, there was another point I'm trying to remember. We also decided, oh yes, that after they scored in the 75th minute, then in the 76th minute, we decided to take off our defensive midfielder and bring on an attacking player, which is understandable. But why did we have to wait so late? After they scored their goal, we were getting pressure since the start of the second half. Actually, parts of the first half also. I thought, and I was explaining to somebody, okay, when you're coming off 2 games where you get 6 goals each, your confidence might be a little bit low. So we played to hold them in the first half, and I was expecting that we were coming out with a stronger showing in the second half. In the second half, they came out with a stronger showing because they felt more confident. And we didn't make any changes. We did not adjust. And then the goal was scored, and then we decided, hey, maybe we should make a change. Brought on the number 10, I think his name is Findy Freitas, who actually looked pretty good. But again, he is now starting from a 1-0 down position. We started to play a little bit more forward, gain 1 or 2 opportunities, half chances really, not even clear cut. There was one that was clear cut that the keeper took care of. There was a shout for a penalty that I think we really should have gotten in the first half. But again, sometimes that's how football goes. You get a call, you don't get a call, you have to live with it. We can't play football hoping that every call goes our way and that we get all the benefits. It just won't happen. So we were able to keep them at 1 because at some points they were coming down and it looked like it could have been 2. But again, really and truly, this is more of a problem than what we are seeing on the field. I did a short the other day and talk about we need an entire system revamp. We need a selection committee. We need to know how these coaches get in these positions. Trinidad and Tobago is realizing that Ayana Russell may not be the right person for the women's youth team. Trinidad and Tobago is realizing, because I'm in a lot of chats and people are really getting aggravated, that Mr. Boyce is probably not the right person. Removing them and replacing them is a short-term fix, and we always do that. But there's a bigger problem. How did they get there? Who appointed them? What is the style of football we playing? How do we align? How do we develop? How do we help our teams? How do we market our teams? How do we get people interested? How do we determine who is picked and who is not picked? How do we determine what criteria we're using? So there are a lot of questions that need to be asked. Again, it will always come up when we have a unfavorable result, but the problems are there. The problems are there. Sometimes we get a result and we look past it. But as you could see with the U17 women, it showed up. This is the first game with the U17 boys, and from this game, it probably looks like we may not make it to the World Cup. The U20 team coming a little bit later on this month. We really need to look ourselves in the mirror and decide, hey, is this how we want to continue? Is this what we as Trinidad and Tobago deserve? Do we demand better? How do we get better? How do we demand better? What kind of demands we're gonna make on TTFA? Because if we continue to say nothing, this is what will happen. This is destroying our young players. Our U17 girls, I'm sure they feel broken. Our U17 boys, the football didn't look good, and really and truly with Mexico coming, I don't think it will get any better. We recently passed the grandparent law, and we have people looking at Trinidad and Tobago football. Parents of children who, again, from Trinidad, the parents know the tie to Trinidad and Tobago. The kids may not as much. So guess what? They're looking at the football right now to see where we are. And I could tell you for a fact that I've spoken to some parents of female players, and they say if things change, they don't want to have anything to do with this under 17, I guess, well, probably like under 15 girls and that kind of thing, because it's scary to look at. And if this continues with the under 17 boys, I know at least a couple parents so far who say that they really can't, in good faith, send their children from where they are to come and play football for these youth teams right now, even the male teams. So we really need to consider what we are doing, because we're destroying this crop of players who in the next 5, 6, 7 years would be our senior players. And we are also destroying players who are looking on, who could potentially come onto the team. So yeah, we get the law changed, but we on the field shooting ourselves in the foot. So please, TTFA, please, let's get it right. Because some of us really want to see Trinidad and Tobago football rise. Despite what it looks like from the administration, some of us really want to see it get better. So please help us. And again, we as a people have to start demanding better of our TTFA. Coming from these tournaments, we need to have auditing, we need to have discussions, we need to have, I don't know if you had to get tribunals and go live on TV and ask questions and get people, hold people accountable. We can't continue with the same people doing the same thing all the time and then expect different results. There's a word for that. We all know what it is. And Trinidad and Tobago's football could drive you to insanity. But please, let's do better. That's all I'm asking.